Mike here from the Captain Phoenix channel again. So, if the hat didn't give it away, I'm a Mets fan, and as my fellow Mets fans will surely agree, being a Mets fan is hard. And in 2018, every 5 days, it gets even harder. It's September 13th, and Jacob deGrom is on pace to be just the third starting pitcher in Major League history to lead the majors in ERA despite having a losing record. And unless he has a couple of really terrible starts to end the season, that ERA will be the lowest by far in that category. The fact that the Mets don't hit for Jake has become so common knowledge it's become a bit of a meme, to the point that many fans have joked that Jake should just hit for himself and be a one-man team. So I decided to take a lighthearted, non-exhaustive look at just that idea. Now I'm doing this by myself on a $0 an hour budget, and this is by no means meant to be comprehensive. Otherwise I'd be looking at tape to review each and every pitch thrown by Jake and taken by his teammates. So for the purposes of this video, we're just going to look at the batting average. And with that, what if Jacob deGrom was a one-man team? We know the Mets haven't been hitting for Jake, but what you may find difficult to believe is that it's actually gotten worse throughout the season. This is the Mets' cumulative batting average for the season when Jake pitches. After the September 11th game, it dipped to a paltry .218, and that includes deGrom, who, on the season, is hitting .177. That said, things have gotten strange since the All-Star break. The Mets as a team are still hitting .218 if you isolate only the games after the All-Star break, but that includes deGrom, who is hitting a mighty .348 himself. If you factor out Jake's at-bats, the Mets are hitting a pathetic .208 since the All-Star break in games Jake has pitched. But that .348 needs closer examination, and what we're going to find might actually surprise you. deGrom has had 23 at-bats since the All-Star break, and he's had 8 hits and 4 runs batted in those at-bats. He also had a walk, and I agree that plate appearances is a better metric for analysis of this sort, but that means going through each at-bat to spot fielders' choices, errors, hit by pitch, the ultra-rare advance on strikeout. You get the point. There may not be a lot of these oddities for deGrom, but if we're comparing him to the rest of the staff, we'd have to look into these sort of things for each batter, and if we're really being comprehensive, we'd look at every pitch and every swing, but again, I'm doing this for free, so this is what you get. Anyway, the entire rest of the team has had 317 at-bats, and has had 66 hits and 26 runs batted in deGrom games since the All-Star break. This is where we get that .208 number for the rest of the team. What's worse, and what may get missed, is that RBI total. This works out to a run batted in for every 12.19 at-bats, meaning it takes the rest of the staff more than 12 at-bats to drive in 1 run. Jake, on the other hand, is driving in a run every 5.75 at-bats, which works out to 87 runs batted in on a typical, roughly 500 at-bat season if he was a position player. So what if the rest of the Mets hit like Jake? What if we replaced those 317 at-bats with 317 of Jake's at-bats? All of a sudden, the hit total goes up to 110, nearly doubling, and most importantly, that RBI total rockets up to 55, and that's what we'll focus on. Those 55 runs batted in means that the Mets would drive in 29 more total runs, which works out to 2.9 more a game in the 10 starts Jake's had since the All-Star break. Now, we're not including unearned runs, of which the Mets have scored a few, so for the sake of simplicity, let's call it an even 3 runs per game. 3 runs per game. That's a lot. That would have serious consequences on final game results. In fact, that would mean a loss against the Padres would become a win, a loss against the Braves would become a win, a no decision the Mets lost to the Giants would become a win, that embarrassing 11-inning loss to the Cubs in which Jake drove in the only Met run becomes a win, and may not have even required extra innings, and Monday's loss against the Marlins becomes a win. All of this amounts to a new win-loss record for deGrom of 13-6. 13-6. At 13-6, we're probably not having a discussion about whether wins and losses should matter for a Cy Young candidate. Now, I realize this thought experiment is riddled with holes, but I thought it would give an interesting perspective on deGrom's season so far. So if you enjoyed watching this little thought experiment as much as I enjoyed making it, like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments section what you thought and what you'd like to see me do more on in the next video. Until then, this has been Mike from the Captain Phoenix channel, signing off.